is a story that one of the Chassidim said, with Moshe Meisler, he was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, and he said that the teaching of the Alter Rebbe saved his life. The Alter Rebbe teaches his Chassidim about moich shalat el halev, mind over matter, that the brain controls the heart. The brain has ownership of the heart. So said that Moshe, that was the time that the Alter Rebbe asked him to be a spy on behest of the Russian government against the French. And this story is a very familiar story, but it's just the beauty of it. How many times do we have a beholder sometimes in life and we're in stress? And here Moshe says that he was standing in a tent together with some of the generals drawing up plans of how they will conquer Russia. And Napoleon was really upset because he was dealt defeat after defeat, and he had a feeling that there is a spy in the most inner circle that's giving over his plans, and therefore the Russian army is one step ahead of him. And he walked in, running into the tent when they were drawing up, one before a battle, they were drawing up the last plans, and he saw the Moshe Majlis, who was Jewish, and he was there. Because Moshe knew many languages, and they needed someone who's proficient in Russian and in French. And they didn't have Google Maps back then. They needed someone that could translate. And, Ochich Charasho knows exactly what's going on the Russian side and also on the French side. And he was proficient in many languages. So they had him there as a translator. But secretly he was sending all the plans to the Alter Rebbe, who in turn sent all the plans to the Russian government. And Napoleon walked over, walks into the tent and he says, there is a spy. It can't be. My plans are perfect. Someone is sending our plans over to the other side. And he sees that Moshe standing, he says, you're the spy. And at that moment he puts his hand on Moshe's heart, and he thought it would be beating and it would be racing, and that Moshe standing there calmly, and then he took his hand off his heart. He said, this can't be the spy. And the Moshe said, because he learned from the Alter Rebbe, that Mamish saved his life. So let's talk today about the second bracha of Kriya Shema, where we say, V'sein b'libeinu bina lahovinu lahaskil lishmoya lilmed ulalamed lishmer v'lasid. We say to B'nai Shalom, please put in our heart understanding. In our heart? How do you understand? You understand with your heart? Don't you understand with the brain? The truth is that in the Pasach Eliyahu it says, Bina liba ubo halev maven. But that's precisely our question. Isn't Bina understanding in the brain? Why is Bina in the heart? On the contrary, they're two different things. Sometimes people understand in their brain exactly what they should do. They know that they should eat healthy and exercise and so on, and maybe that they shouldn't be smoking away, and they do exactly the opposite. Person understands that Chazal says Lashon Hara is a dangerous thing, and but he engages in it in any way. A person learns Chassidus, thinks about the greatness of Hashem, and he still is drawn into the lusts of Olam Haza. I mean, most of us understand this problem. And that's the difference of the brain and the heart. The brain is objective. He wants to understand the emeskite of the thing. And the heart wants to know, well, what's good for me? What's in it for me? So the brain is the place of Bina, not the heart, you would think. Yet we say the same Belibeinu Bina. And we say, Bina liba ubo alev maven. So how do you reconcile this? How do you reconcile the two? That the brain is really the place of a Bina, and now you're telling me the same Belibeinu Bina. In general, we have to understand, how is it really that the heart, although Chassidus says that there is an exercise and you flex a muscle and over time you gain ownership, the mind over matter, and the brain really controls the heart. Instead of the person being impulsive and his heart controlling him, the person controls the heart. like this, and to the ultimate of this case of the Moshe, where he was able to control, when he had such a pachad, he was able to control the rate of his heart, that he shouldn't feel a bahola of fear. How many of us have sometimes a situation in life that is terrifying, and the heart starts to race, and we lose our mind, and we can't keep our cool? This is the big thing of Mayach Shalat Alalev. But why is it? The brain tells the feet where to walk and how to wiggle the toes. And the toe never rejects the signals of the brain. The hands never reject the signals of the brain. Every part of the body follows exactly what the brain tells them to do. How come the heart is such an anomaly? How come the heart is not that way? So the answer is, the truth is the heart does follow the brain. It depends which part of the heart. Says the Alter Rebbe, the depth of the depth. The heart has many levels to it. There's pnimiyus halev and chitzoniyus halev, the crust and the inside of the heart. Give an example. There is a student, right, and he's standing in front of his Rabbi. He's listening to Fabrengen. He's like a sponge. He's taking in every word. After the Fabrengen, he's repeating and explaining the Torah, the Sikha, to someone else. He develops the thought, and he uses his own words and examples. It could even be a Talmud She'enoi Hagun that he develops it in the wrong way, totally not in the way the Rebbe intended to explain. So, Pnimiyus Halev is like the student in front of his Rebbe. Chitzonius Halev is like the student that walked away from the Rebbe. Or now he's maybe even a Talmud She'enoi Hagun, and he's developing it in the wrong direction. The Pnimiyus Halev is not the problem. The Pnimiyus Halev is always drawn after the brain. Deep down in the heart, the person knows what is true and what is not true. A person feels it. Especially after we do something. You know, the Bali Musa said that it's the morning after feeling. If the morning after you feel good about what you did, that means it's okay. It's okay. If you feel lousy, not okay. The pnimius of the heart always feels the brain. It's like that Talmud Hagen sitting in front of its Rebbe. Chitzonius of the heart is not so. The chitzonius of the heart could develop the thoughts in a different direction and go in the wrong way. The bakosha, the request that we have here in the davening is not the same b'moichenu. In our brain, we have plenty of seichel sometimes in our brain. The problem is to bring it into the chitzonius of the heart. The same b'libeinu bina, that the bina should burst not only from the heart into the pnimius from the brain to the pnimius of the heart, but also the chitzonius of the heart. Yep, sounds like a simple request. Rabbi Shalom, please help us that what we know is true way in life should burst through from the pnimius, the chitzonius of the heart. That we should carry through, that our life should be based on what we believe should be the way of life. But how do we get there? Truth is, in the brain also, there's a chitzonius of the brain and a pnimius of the brain. When you understand something and it's so clear and it's so meaningful to you, it usually spills over also to the heart and to the chitzonius of the heart. Let me explain how this applies to Torah. If a person learns a shaila, there's a competition, Lizzie from this city, Lizzie from the other city. Is competition good for business? Is a competition bad for business? Is competition good for the buyer? Because there are more competition, so the buyer is going to provide better goods and services. Or is it only good for the for the seller? I mean, or is it good also for the buyer? That's called chitzonius hamoyach, the chitzonius of Torah. The pnimis of Torah is the kedusha of the Torah, the mo'ir sheba, the chasidus in the Torah. Who sees it, every halacha sees how this is in Olam Yonim and also in Avodas Hashem. And when a person learns the same halacha in Pnimius HaTorah, not only he learns it in the chitzonius of his brain, but in the pnimius of his brain, that will help that it should explode into his heart. And not only that the pnimius of the heart should feel the derech HaTorah being the true way, but also it should permeate into the chitzonius of the heart. That indeed there should be moyach shalat al alev, that the brain actually controls the heart, or the way that Rebbe Rashab told Sigmund Freud, that we will build a bridge over the Atlantic Ocean. We will build a bridge between the brain and the heart. And until we manage to build a bridge, at least we will pull wires. We will pull the wires from the brain to the heart when we will turn on the light bulb. We will learn the Marsov and we will turn on the light bulb, and that will allow that the brain should actually illuminate the heart. And this happens through the pnimius, because the pnimius hamoyach affects the pnimius halev, and that bursts through into the chitzonius halev. Okay, where time is in short supply, I want to go through the Pirush Hamilus of this Baruch. It's already 9 o'clock, and we still have to get to the Gemara. I'd like to go through the Pirush Hamilus of the second bracha in Krishma. We'll just go through it. We'll go through it fairly quickly, and do the translation and some nuggets from some of the Meforshim on the Siddur, the Eitz Yosef, the Anaf Yosef, the Iyun Tefillah, and the Tikkun Tefillah. If you have a Siddur, please open a Siddur. Avas Olam. Ahavtonu Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem, our God, you have loved us with eternal, everlasting love. The truth is that there is a shayla in the Gemara to say Avad Abba, Avas Olam. The Nusach Ashkenaz is to have a pshat in the morning to say Ava Araba, and at night to say Avas Olam, which is the Gemara says that the reason for that is in the morning is the day is chesed, so it shines the bigger Ava. Night is a time of Golus, but still there is Avas Olam. Chassidus says that our Nusach Svarad is to say always Avas Olam because we're talking about our Avodas Hashem. Avad Abba is a gift from heaven. Avas Olam is the Ava that we take from seeing Hashem in the world. But the simple translation is Avos Olam means the eternal love. Olam means lo olam like, the eternal love. The Aftona Hashem Elokeinu, the Eibishter loves us. Chemla gedola v'yeseda chamalta aleinu. That the Eibishter is it shows us a chemla gedola, an exceedingly abundance of mercy. What's the pshat of the chemla gedola v'yeseda? So the Meforshim say that every person that has love, it's not usually pure. Even if, say, a husband loves his wife, so she's attractive. So many years to have a relationship, it's not just the crust and the outside of the skin, but he's attracted by the content of her character. But she's giving him something. A father to a son. Maybe the son doesn't give that much to the father. Some kids give a lot of agmas nefesh to the parents. Okay. But there is always a hope the child will turn around. Maybe the child will be there for us in the days of our old age. Maybe. Who knows? So the love to our spouse, the love to our child, it's not necessarily pure. It's also a natural love. So again, there is, the Eibishter put it into our DNA. He typed it in there. He put it in there. But the Eibishter's love to this world that he created, and to Eden especially, as we learned in the Chassidus, that the love is from Bechira Chavshis, not the Mila that the Yehud has. It comes directly from the Eibishter, so therefore it's eternal love, And that's chemla gedola v'yaseda chamalta aleinu. It's an exceedingly and abundant and pure type of love and mercy. Because there is nothing in the Eibishter's mind that, oh, he's going to gain from us. It's just that he picked the Eden, and therefore it's a pure love. Avinu Malkeinu. Why is it important to know how much the Eibishter loves us? So we spoke about this in the introduction when we started learning about davening. This kamayim aponim laponim. If a person realizes how much the Eibishter loves him, he will love the Eibishter. When you realize how much someone loves you, you have no choice but to love in return. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Ba'avur Shimcha Agadol, we're asking a favor for you, the sake of your great name, of Ba'avur Aviseinu, and also on the sake of our forefathers, who had Mesidus Nefesh. Shebotchu B'cha, they had faith and bitochen in you. And Vatalamdim Chukei Chaim, you taught them the laws of life. You taught them Torah, which are the laws that gives life. Lasas Retzeincha B'leiv Shalom. You taught them these laws of life, which is the mitzvahs, so they could do your will with a full heart. So, in the sake of our forefathers, and in the sake of your great name, Kain Techaneinu Uslamdeinu, have mercy on us and teach us. As I mentioned 2 weeks ago, that there was a mashpia in Lubavitch that told the students that when he was a child, he had no cheshik to learn. But he always, every time he davened, he said with his whole heart and soul, he would say, Avinu Avarachman HaMerachim Merachim Na'aleinu, our Father, Father of mercy, who has Rachmanis. As the Meforshim say, some people have in their heart Rachmanis, but it comes down to they don't have what it takes to help the other person. But the Eibishter does. Avinu Avarachman HaMerachim, who Bepol could show his Rachmanis. So Rachim Na'aleinu, have Rachmanis on us. The same B'libeinu Bina, give us the understanding. Give in our heart the understanding. Said this mashpia that he said it with his full heart until actually the Rabbanu Shalom answered his prayer. So we say the same B'libeinu, put in our heart Bina, understanding, Lahavin Ulahaskil, that not only should we understand, that we should also understand and comprehend in a deep way. And that should bring us lishmoya, to hear the Torah, in other words, to understand the Torah, lilmud alamet, to learn and to teach, lishmer velasas, to fulfill and to guard. Because we say that Godel Talmud Shemevelu Demaisa, once you will learn, automatically we will come to do. Ulakayim, and to safeguard is called Divrei Salmut Teresecha, all the words of the teaching of Torah B'Ava with love. Light up our eyes b'Teresecha in your Torah, v'dabek libeinu, and make our heart cleave the mitzvah to your mitzvahs. There is a darg of devekus when a yid gets glued to mitzvahs. The yachid levavenu, and make that our heart should be beyichud la'aval yira shmecha. We spoke about this last week, the 3 pshatim of v'yachid levavenu. I would note that there is certain nuschos that say only v'yachid levavenu la'ava. Some say only liyira. And the popular nusach is both la'ava liyira, and it's interesting that we say first ava and then yira. We spoke about this last week because there is the first gate in Avodas Hashem is yira. Then you go into 2 levels of ava, and the highest level is yira law.
Haskell is to understand, or is it to succeed?
Haskell is mistamet to succeed. I'll tell you why. It says. Chazal say in the Pirkei Rebbe Elazar, that Vayhi David L'chol Derochav Maskil. It's actually a Gemara. The Gemara says, what's up shot? Vayhi David L'chol Derochav Maskil Sha'alocha Kamoisoi B'chol Mokem. So Maskil is not just to comprehend and to understand. Bina is Lahav and Davar Mitoich Davar. La haskil means, in other words, to get to the true haskalah, to get to the kudas oemes. Shahaloicha kamoisei b'chol makom. Mechaven to the emes, mechaven to the halacha. So we continue. We say we asked the Eibishter, and we spoke about this 2 weeks ago, that Chas v'Shalom we shouldn't have any busha, any embarrassment when we come to the world to come. No stumbling and no embarrassment in the world. It should only be that in Hashem's name we have betochen, and therefore when we have betochen, we'll have only simcha, joy in the Eibishter's salvation. And the Eibishter's rachmim and chasadim, which are abundant, for eternal, should never be away from us. The Eibishter should give us the bracha v'shalom. And gather us from the four corners of the earth. It's an interesting thing that the Mefarshim say. When we say we say afterwards to break the yoke of the nations from our neck, and then and take us with an upstretched posture back to our land. But 1 second. Once we're ready in Eretz Yisrael. So, but here it sounds like there's 3 steps. Here it sounds like number 1 is gather us from the four corners. Then they break the yoke of the Gentiles from our heart, from our neck, and then take us to our land. And they say in the Dov Shalom, which is one of the Mefarshim and the Oitzer Mefarshim Tefillah, the Dov Shalom says, is very deep in the Kudus and davening. The Dov Shalom says, מבואר בספרי האמש שהתחיל יהיה קיבוץ גולס למקום אחד ואחרי זה יעלו בציין. וזהו, בתחילה ואבינו לשלום למקום אחד מארבע כנפות הארץ, ואחרי זה ותלכנו כמיס לארצנו. Interesting. Very interesting. The Rebbe has his diuk about Bono Mikdash B'Mkoimai, that Mashiach is going to build the Beis HaMikdash, in other words, a Mikdash Mi'at, B'Mkoimai, in like Bovel or in wherever it is where Yidden are in Golus, like the basic Knesses of Shafi Yosef or the basic Knesses of Hutzel, and there'll be Gila Shechina, and from there the Yidden will go back to Eretz Yisrael. And then there'll be Tzelecheinu K'meheda. And he says a nice word. Why is it K'memius? Yeah. Pinchas, yes.
Is there a minhag by Chabad, or I know Sephardim do it, but when we say Mabak for Ta'aras, we grab the 4 tzitzits.
Yeah, that's minhag Chabad too, yes. Yep.
Do you know the minhag of that? Or
yes, it's minhag Chabad as well.
Significance?
Okay, I'll look into it, Bli Neder. But there definitely is also minhag Chabad. It's an interesting thing. It says in the pasuk V'oilech eschem koimemius. So the Dov Shalom says that why koimemius? Okay, so Pashas, it means Mashiach will come. The Eibush is going to take us by koimas gufa. We're going to walk. A person Nebach has a lot of tzaros. They walk like hunchback. And when a person is besimcha, he walks upright. But he says the pshat is that the Meisei Chutzlaritz come to Eretz Yisrael because they're going to have Tsar Gilgul Mechilus. They're going to be rolling the bones in the caves until to get to Eretz Yisrael. We're asking the Eibush, the Mashiach should come take it from Yad Mamish, that we should be Zoiche to be there and be alive. That we shouldn't have to go Tsar Gilgul Mechilus. V'avienu l'sholom arba kam v'sa'odez shoyre l'gem al tzavenu v'seilechenu meheda. While we're alive and healthy, so we won't have to have the Tzar Gilgul Mechilus, we should be Zoiche, take him Yad to Mashiach Tzidkenu. Keil Poel Yeshua Sato, because the Eibishter is the one that makes Yeshua salvation, and you chose us from all nations and language. And you brought us close to your great name with love. So we can thank you. And we could praise you, and we could proclaim your unity. And we can also come to love your name. So we're saying here several nakudas. Number one, the Eibishter chooses the Iyun. Number two, the Eibishter brings us close to his big name. And also, the Eibishter allows us to praise him and to proclaim his unity. The Alter Rebbe says, from the Magen Avraham, the Alter Rebbe says from the Magen Avraham, and we spoke about this a few weeks ago in the Shulchan Aruch Shir, that a person should mention, it should in his thought, should think about Ma'amad Har Sinai, Maisa Amalek, Maisa Miriam, and Maisa Egel. And how? Because a person says, Avona V'charta, the Eibishter the Bechida happened in the time of Matan Torah, as we spoke about this 2 weeks ago in the Shir. And next thing is, the second point is, we thank Hashem for bringing us the Shimcha Godel to the big name. The Eibishter's name is split in half. But when Amalek is eradicated, the Eibishter becomes the Kisei Shalom, and the Shem Shalom becomes the big name. And the next thing is Lahoidis Lachot, that we have a tongue in order to praise the Eibishter, the opposite of what Lashon Hara is. Instead of using the tongue for idle talk or for worse Lashon Hara, we use it to praise Hashem. And further is La'achetcha, that we use our tongue to proclaim the Eibishter's unity, the opposite of Maisa Egel. And then later in Krishma also, we mention Shabbos and Yitzias Mitzrayim. We say Schartem is Kol Mitzvahs Hashem, Kol Mitzvahs is Shabbos. Okay. The Ameforshim that don't like this, even though it becomes from Tikkun Zoyar, it's brought in the Tikkunim, it's brought in the Magen Avraham. They say like this. This is the Sefer Noya Katzon Yoikiv. So if he says, if you must think it, you must think it. But Ludin Yesh Tshuva, Halavai Shenachavim the Pirish Amilish Bash and Agea Be'etzem Akavon Shenitakan Lakrishma. It's hard enough to be Machavim what we need to Pirish Amilos, to be Makayim the mitzvah of the brachas. You're not going to give me more things. It's too much. He's not waxing poetic. If you tell me that you could do the say sheish tzchidas by remembering in the heart, that would be good enough. But he goes through all the sheish tzchidas and shows that you can't. You have to say bepeh mole. For example, Chazal say in Yalkut, Yochel belibchak shoym shamas im shabbos at shminas aleva amur man im kaim zacher eliyas shoyne bepicha. You have to say it in your mouth. Eliyas shoyne bepicha. You have to say it in your mouth. And he goes through all the sheish tzchidas. The truth is, I should have made a copy of these maforshim on the thing and sent it. Maybe I'll send it out tonight after the share. You could look at it in Oisis Lamachkumis. And he brings it ayahs for all of them. And he says, so therefore, anyway, you have to say bepeh. So what's the point thinking about it? The truth is, there is a minute to say sheish tzchidas after davening bepeh moli. And the last time we spoke about this, someone asked a question. Shmulik asked, why do we have to say sheish tzchidas if we think about it here? And if we think, why do we have to have it redundant? So the truth is, the reason we say sheish tzchidas is because we have to say bepeh moli. But why are we being mechaven here? Well, what's the point of the kavanah? I would say, based on what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe asks, why is it that Chazal glued Yitzias Mitzrayim to Krishma? The two separate mitzvahs. Chazal said, you know what? Let's glue them together. While you do one, do the other. Alter Rebbe says it's not as for Shalom incidental. The whole mitzvah of Krishma is Yitzias Mitzrayim Beruchnis. It goes out of Mitzorim Gvulim Beruchnis. And in its Pashas Navodas Hashem, these four things that Ayid remembers when he's saying Krishma is Achana to Krishma, and it's part of what Krishma is all about. It's the first thing is the Yid has to know Vona V'charta, the Bechira, which is in the goof of the Yid. Because that's the whole Inyan of Birchas Krishma, to get B'shlavov B'cholavovcha B'shnei Etzarecha. we're trying to talk to the V'yachid Levavenu. We're trying to get that Yetzer Hara should also utilize its koiches Avodas Hashem. The jealousy of the Yetzer Hara, Kina Sofrim Karba Chochma, like we spoke about this in the Sunday Shir. The midah of Kanos, like Pinchas, he's like zealot. If those of you that heard the message I sent out before Shabbos about Kanos, the Kedusha. Taiva, he has a Taiva to Tana Toiva Yidin, a Geschmack to Tana Toiva Yidin, that everything of the Yetzer Hara, all the koiches of the Yetzer Hara is used in Avodas Hashem. Bishnei l'chol avavcha da'avas bishnei yitzarecha. Why? Because of one of acharta. Because the bechira is not only in the neshama, it's in the guf. And then there's Amalek. The Amalek is the state enemy number one. Hashakorcha baderech krirus na'avodas Hashem. Ayid has to be ungewarnt, has to be a fire. That's part of Birchas Kirishma. We're trying to tell the Nefesh HaBahamis that you come from the Malachim. This is where you come from. So you think Taiva, Olam Hazas Taiva? You think what's good is a steak and a beer? You think a Cuban cigar is Geschmack? Tana Taiva Yid is Geschmack. That's number one. Then Amalek. Amalek is kalt. So not to be kalt. Zan avarim Yid. Full of chayes dike Yid. And then there is the tongue, which is Chshav Dibur, Maisa, that a Yid is to dedicate to the Eibishter. And the tongue is dedicated to the Eibishter. And the same thing is Maisa Egel. Maisa Egel is the opposite of Achtas Hashem. The whole union of Shema is proclaiming the unity of Hashem. The Sheish is that our meaning is to say Befem Allah is one thing. And here is part of the union of Krishma is these taking these steps, these 4 steps in Avodas Hashem, which is to purify also our guf, b'shnei yitzarecha, to get rid of the kaltkeit, to dedicate our tongue to Avodas Hashem, and to dedicate ourselves to do the opposite of Maisa Egel, but to see that everything is Yad Hashem Yisparach.
I have a question, Rabbi.
Yeah.
These words preceding the Kriya Shema seem to be the most powerful and emotional, maybe in all of the Tefillah. If we're saying the Ikar, I don't know if we're saying, but if they say that the Ikar is the Shemona Esrei, why wouldn't the rabbis have put these most powerful words to precede the Shemona Esrei instead of putting it a few minutes before, which is very hard to have?
Because here, you have a good question. Because Shemona Esrei, we're talking to the king. Here we're really talking to ourselves. We're mekabalized ourselves, the Oil Malchut Shemaim. This bracha, which the emphasis of this bracha is about feeling the love to Hashem with us, is not, it doesn't make sense when you're standing in front of Melech Malach HaMalachim to emphasize this. This we have to emphasize when we're talking to ourselves. Right before we say Shema, when mekabel Oil Malchut Shemaim. When we stand in front of the Melech, there's other things that are important to mention. Baruch atah Hashem, aboichem Am Yisrael ba'ava. Blessed are you, Hashem, who chose His people, Am Yisrael, with love. Okay, we'll stop at this point and the Mitzvah Hashem next week. We're going to start the Mitzvah Hashem Shema Yisrael. Obviously, we're going to move it with a little. We're going to move slowly on it because the Chassidus has a lot to say about what it means Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And a lot to say about Baruch Shem Kavod Malchutzei, and a lot to say about V'ahavta. But Tzabislach, Mitzvah Hashem will cover the 3 parashas of Krishma, and then we'll do the last bracha, the bracha of Ezras. Emes V'yatziv. There's a few minutes left, so we can go to the Gemara. And if you have a Gemara, please open up and Daf Tez Zayin, Amud Aleph. Let's go quickly from the Mishnah. Zog the Mishnah, and Koyrim Barosh, Elam Barosh Anidvach, Mashen and Hashem Laskim Tefillah. The workers could stand on top of the tree and the top of the row of bricks and say the Shema. But with Tefillah, they have to. It requires more kavanah. They have to walk down from the tree and say it on the ground. Chosan pater mikrishma laila rishon avad matzoi Shabbos. Chosan's pater from Krishma because he's busy with the mitzvah until matzoi Shabbos. as long as he didn't do the Ma'aseh the mitzvah. He really married a woman and he said Shema the first night before he did the mitzvah. Didn't you teach us a chasna as part of Shema? I will not listen to you to be mevatel, accepting the yoke of heaven even for one moment. Zog that we already learned the Mishnah. I'm just repeating it. Tanu Rabban, Zog the Gemara. That the workers could read the Shema on top of the tree, on top of the line of bricks. In these two trees, which is Zayis and Taina, because they're very safe and have a lot of branches, so even the Tefillah they could do on top of the Zayis tree and the Taina tree. The Sharkolilonas, but all the other trees there's not that much branches, and they might be tall trees too, and therefore the worker doesn't feel safe, and he doesn't have Yishuv Adas, so therefore he has to climb down from the tree and then to do the Tefillah Mispala. However, by the bias that the owner of the field, Benkach or Benkach Yer the Mispala, he has to climb down and to be Tefillah. His mind is not Miyushiv. The workers, even though the mind is not so miyushiv, but Chazal didn't want him to be mevatel the malacha the balabais. So they were makel. They said, Shema, you could say on top of the tree, and tefillah you have to come down. Zog the Gemara, Romelei Rav Mori, Breid Rabba Shmuel Rav. Rav Mori asked Rav, doesn't he have a father? So the Mefarshim say that the Bas Shmuel, she ended up having a baby with someone who captured her, Isag Yuda. And later he did tshuva and they became geir, but he couldn't be considered his father. So that's why we say that the Mori's yichus is that his mother is the daughter of Shmuel, because we don't want to mention his father. Okay, back to Gemara. Ramalei, the Mori brother Bas Shmuel. The Mori asked to Rav. Now we learned they could read on top of the tree, on top of the bricks. And because the Mishnah doesn't say any conditions, it would sound that they could also do the work. They could lay the bricks b'shas they say Krishma. Alma, if that's the case, they could lay the bricks when they're saying Kshma, loy boy kavana. Obviously, they don't have to have kavana. V'deminu have a kasha. It says, Shema tzara shechavan esliboy. Person that reads the Shema has to have kavanah in the heart. Shenema, it says, Shema Yisrael. It says, Shema Yisrael. Ulahalanu Omer. It says, Haskes Shema Yisrael. That later, by Arvas Mars, it says, Haskes Shema Yisrael. And the extra word Haskes means that you have kavanah in your heart. And we have Exeda Shava. Ma Allah Halon Bahaskes, Afkam Bahaskes. Just over there where it says Haskes Shema Yisrael, it means you have to pay attention. Same thing, you have to pay attention. So, how could you pay attention when you're laying bricks? So, Ishtik Rav was taking quiet. Amalei, so Rav said to the Mori, Midish Melech, did you hear something about this? Amalei, the Mori says, Achim Rishesha said, that they have to stop laying the bricks. So that's Gemara accepts that that's the answer, because even though they're standing on top of a line of bricks, but because they stopped laying the bricks, so they could have kavanah. Zog Gemara Batanya, we learned in the Braisa B'Sila Loimreim Oiskim Malachtan Bekorin, they could lay bricks while they read, so they don't have to have kavanah. So Gemara Loikasha Bepedek Ho Bepedek Kedisha. When I'm talking about Bepedek Kedisha, you have to have kavanah. And that's when we say Shema Yisrael is compared to Askas. So Shema Yisrael, you have to kavanah, so definitely you have to stop laying the bricks. And over here, and the other Braisa with name of Beis Hillel, which says you could even lay the bricks. Obviously, they can't have kavanah while you lay the bricks. He's talking about Perek Sheni of Kedishma. The kavanah is not ma'akib there. Zog the Gemara, Tana Rabbanon.
Sorry, what line is the Rabban?
We started the Mishnah Daf Tez Zayin Omid Aleph, and we now covered the first 7 lines, the big lines. We're now holding the 8th line, Tana Rabbanon, from the big lines. Tana Rabbanon. You have it?
Tez Zayin on the base of Aleph.
Tezayin Amid Aleph.
Oh, sorry.
Zog the Gemara, Ton Rabbanon. We learned in the Beraisa. The workers, they were working with the balabais. They, even though they're busy working and they're meshubah to do their work, but they're obligated to reach Shema, and they also have to make the brachas l'fanei l'acharea. And the balabos can't hold them back. The balabos can't say, "Oh, you're working." No, they're mechuyev to say Shema ba'inasa and also to say the birchas krishma. And they eat their bread and they make a bracha before and after. In other words, not only afterwards, which is a bracha de'iraisa, but also before, which is a bracha de'rabbanan. They daven the entire Shemana Esrei. They can't go become a shliach tzibur, because that requires more time of taking off of the malacha. And Chazal were choshish for the bittul of the bittul of malacha of the balabayas. And if they're kohanim, ein noisem kapeim, they can't do the sis kapeim because it's too much bittul of malacha the balabayas. You're telling me this? But Tanya, I learned the Brais differently. That it says only Mein Shemana Esrei. They don't say the whole Shemana Esrei. They only say Mein Shemana Esrei. Here we say, the Chazal said they say the whole Shemana Esrei. I said, no, Mein Shemana Esrei. The Gemara, there's a kinkasha in it. Oh, when we said in the Brais, they say the whole Shemana Esrei, should say Gumaliel, which says later the person has to say the whole Shemana Esrei. But on the Brais it says, you only say Mein Shemana Esrei, it'll be Shua, which holds that a person could do an abbreviated Shemana Esrei. What happened? He holds every person could do an abbreviated Shemana Esrei. So Gemara says, no, we have to give a different edit. Elo, the answer is, both B'rais and Gamaliel holds that usually you have to do the whole Shemana Esrei. There's no monkey business. There's no abbreviated Shemana Esrei. Over here we're talking about B'rais that the Polim, which you get paid money. Not only they're getting fed, but they're getting paid. And they have to be memayer much more in their malacha. And the B'rais that says that they daven the whole Shemana Esrei and they do much more, is it talking about they're only ba'isam b'sudasan, because they're only getting their suda. So Chazal said, if you're paying your workers so little, at least on zedavenim ve'ayid, they could do more things. If you were paid, besides the food, you were giving them also schar, so then we would take off a little bit of their davening, so they could be more dedicated to the work. If you're not paying them that much, you're only giving them a sudasan, so only shen davenim ve'ayid oichet. And the Gemara brings a raya for this. Benichusa, v'atanya benichusa. We don't know B'raisa. Apayim mashayis malachet. B'bayis konim krishma mispalim. That they do Shema and Tefillah v'echon pitam v'mevarchem lefaneh, but they don't make the bracha before, which is hamoitzi lechem v'avamarchem lecheresh time. They do afterwards two brachas. Keitza bracha rishayna kitikuna v'shniya pesach v'rechet zaretz v'kolam b'nishlayim b'tech b'zaretz. It's like an abbreviated benching. We have to talk about this in the Rashi and the Tosfos. So we're going to put it on pause, and next week we'll get back to this. And the B'rais says that this is talking about Pa'alim Ha'isam B'schorim, they're getting money. Pa'alim Ha'isam B'sadasim, they're getting only their meals. So then everything is Kitikuna, the Mavarchim, Kitikuna they make. And another exception is the Balabais is eating with them is a raya that he was Mavater, and they make the regular brachas. Okay, we went a little quick in the last Nakuda. We'll go back to this B'raisa. Amid Hashem, when we get back to this Gemara next week, as Hashem is Baruch on Tuesday. A gute Nacht, a glitliche Nacht, and we should, before we turn around, there should be V'aviyenu l'sholem me'arav ha'kanvas ha'oretz u'shvoid oil ha'goyim al tzavarenu. The Eibishter should take off our necks the yoke of the goyim with all their silly rules, Eidas chukim mishpatim, and the only Eidas chukim mishpatim that should remain in this world for us to do is only Asher Siva Hashem Elokeinu Isanu. A gute Nacht.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Pinchas, and thank you, Sasson, and thank you, Mr. Silverman. Thank you, Aaron. Yoel, Agresnia, Shikoyach. Thank you, Peretz. Thank you, Moshe. Thank you, Yossi. And Nossen, a gute Nacht and a glückliche Nacht.
Thank you.